Good.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Fly Like an Eagle podcast. This is show number 22. Scott back again, as always, with my fellow co-host, Kyle, formerly known as Nitro Freak. Sometimes he still goes by that name.
It's my
Depending
alter
on
ego.
the day. Depending on the day, right?
Yeah, it's my alter ego.
Not a bad one. You've used that for years.
Yeah.
We have a huge week planned for you guys, making up from last week, end of summer, kind of like a boring preseason, as always. We have 3 shows starting today. We're going to go from 7 to 8 tonight, maybe run a little bit over. And then we're going to have pre- and post-game coverage of Eagles-Packers in Brazil, 8:15 on Peacock. It's finally here. We've been preparing, talking endlessly since March. Now, in today's show, we're going to wrap up a lot of things, including the 53-man roster and free agents that were signed after that, season predictions overall, and we are going to start our first weekly pick-em, which we will be doing this every week on Wednesdays, most likely, to pick the games besides the Eagles, at least for today's show. And we're going to keep our records tracked, and we're going to see who comes out on top by the end of the year. So that should be fun. What's going on, Kyle? How are you? And you ready for this week?
Yeah, man, I'm ready to rock and roll. I've never been more excited, and I cannot wait for the season to start. Although, obviously, I have us going in a doom and gloom scenario in Brazil. Don't know why we're going there. There's no reason for American football to be played in Brazil when they win World Cups and we don't. There's a reason why they win World Cups and we suck at soccer, because they love soccer. They hate American football. But whatever, it is what it is. Let's try to get there in one piece and get out in one piece. It's going to be a lot of fun.
We're going to talk about the game in full on Friday. So try not give a little,
Yeah, I know. I'm not gonna go down running down the game. I'm just like trying to spit out there as much as I possibly can how much I hate the fact that we're going to Brazil. But it is what it is. We're playing that game. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And like he said, we're gonna be talking about it a lot on Friday. So join us then. That'll be at 1:00 on Friday. But going down the 53-man roster, obviously we need to do a little shakedown of that. We have our pick-ems coming up, and it's gonna be a fun show. So can't wait to get started.
Absolutely. And let's get started with that Eagles 53-man roster. Obviously, training camp, the offseason, let's just be honest, Howie Roseman is in charge of constructing that and, of course, does have the final say as the general manager and VP of football operations, everything. So I'm on the Eagles website. I was obviously, this is going to differ a little bit from when it was first released on the 27th, factoring in the free agency signings. However, the starters are set, no really big surprises besides, I think the biggest surprise that we didn't see coming is that they did solidify the number 3 wide receiver spot, because people were kind of making a big deal about that. I wasn't, because I'm, obviously confident in AJ and Devontae. Let's start off with our wide receiver core. How are you feeling about that?
I love the wide receiver core between Smitty, AJ Brown, Jahan Dodson, new addition, Dallas Goedert, tight ends, and then we have Saquon Barkley out of the backfield. Our wide receiver position hasn't been this great since, honestly, in my opinion, my whole Eagles lifetime. So I'm really excited about that. Can't complain there. We have a lot of depth there. We have a lot of talent there. And that's honestly the strength of the team by far, in my opinion.
I would definitely have to agree. Again, AJ and Devontae, 2 of the highest paid receivers in the league. You could say we have 2 number 1s. I do consider Devontae a number 1, but I think AJ Brown is definitely on just a different level, but that's no shade to Devontae. Only thing interesting I would say here is, they brought back Britt Covey, and then they have our rookie Johnny Wilson. So, the end of that is not great. You probably have like D-rated receivers, but again, who cares? But I would just, that's of note. And then Dotson, I think that I underrated this trade a little bit, or I just like, again, it was like at that point of the trade, I feel like it was the preseason. I feel like it was slow, and then we had that pretty big move. But I'm really realizing it this week that they pretty much fleeced the Washington Commanders.
Yeah. No, they did. And it's funny because they ran that down on Madden. And they said if they did that trade in Madden, I forget exactly what they gave up for him, but they said if they did it in Madden, Madden would have rejected it. So that just goes to show you that Howie Roseman fleeced the living hell out of the Commanders. And it's a common theme with him because he just knows what he's doing. These other organizations don't. They panic. They don't know how to use Jahan Dotson, or Jahan Dotson's not happy in Washington, so they wanted to get rid of him anyway. But he is a 1 in most places, and we have him as a 3. So I'm excited for that. I just hope that they all click because a lot of times when there's a lot of star power, sometimes it doesn't click, but I'm happy to find out either way.
Absolutely. Honestly, I think Madden would reject every Howie Roseman trade, right?
Yeah, literally, 100%.
Now, what do you think Washington's thought process was, or they just don't have one? But like, why would they trade in the division right before the season and then have to, face him like 2 times? And it's like right before the season, like not like months and months ago. It's kind of like it's a little odd.
Yeah. So the reason why I feel like they did it with us is because number one, they viewed us as a powerhouse at the position anyway in that offense. So it really wouldn't make that much of a difference for us because we already had a lot of talent there. And number two, they're getting value back from a disgruntled player that probably didn't want to be there in the first place. They got draft picks back, capital for their future. They have a new quarterback in Jaden Daniels. They want to start fresh with Terry McLaurin and pieces. Ben Sinnott, tight end. They actually have a decent team in my opinion, especially on offense. So, I could see why they did it. They're not really big rivals with us. They're in the division.
Even though we only beat them by 3. Right?
Yeah, I mean, but we're not like huge rivals with them. The only time that we're known to be huge rivals with the Commanders is when we're in FedEx Field and their fans treat us like shit. Like, other than that, I don't think that the teams hate each other like we do the Cowboys or the Giants. So I just never got that feel that we were that big of a rival. Although our games are always close, like you said, it's so I see why they didn't have a problem doing the trade. It was this close to the season, wanted to get it done. It's like me in the fantasy draft yesterday. All right, so I'm gonna tell you guys a little story. So in the fantasy draft yesterday, I had the 3rd pick overall, and how this correlates into it is because Howie Roseman fleeced the Washington Commanders on paper. So I had the 3rd pick overall. I'm in a keeper league. So I kept Breece Hall. I had for the number 3 pick, Christian McCaffrey. He slid to me. All right. 2nd round, I picked Jalen Hurts. So a 1, 2, 3 dynamic players. Now, I went into the draft, total draft night movie. All right. Where they picked the Cleveland Browns picked the 2 players, had that outlandish draft. It was a scenario like that. For me, it was like no Christian McCaffrey no matter what. I wanted CeeDee Lamb or I wanted Tyreek Hill. I think Christian McCaffrey's great. I think he's awesome, but his history does not hold up to where he could go this far being this healthy for this long. So I was thinking to myself, listen, if I could get value back from him, I'll just ship him away, use my smarts on the waiver wire, and just build my team the right way. Because I'm not going to rely on a guy that's been injured throughout his career and who hasn't gotten hurt recently. He already has a hamstring problem going into the game. So I traded away Christian McCaffrey. You might laugh at this. I traded away Christian McCaffrey for Jonathan Taylor and Christian Watson of the Green Bay Packers. So I feel like maybe I gave up a little bit too much value there. But at the same time, the way that I think about things, I'm getting back a Jonathan Taylor who no longer has to worry about a running back behind him. And I'm getting Christian Watson, who was great before he got injured last year. So in my mind, I feel like I did the right thing. I still have Breece Hall. I still have Jalen Hurts. I have Keenan Allen. I have a good team. And we're going to do this thing on the waiver wire. So that kind of correlates into what Howie Roseman did. And I see why.
So usually Obviously Kyle plugging his fantasy team right there. Usually I would call you dumb as hell for that. But your only silver lining with that trade is it's going to be hard for Christian McCaffrey, even if he doesn't get hurt, to repeat last season. Like, especially the running back position, it doesn't happen anymore where people put up back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. And even if they do, it's not sustainable. We have so many examples now. Todd Gurley, Zeke Elliott, the list goes on and on. So again, I would not have made that trade, but I that's your one silver lining. Back to Dotson. I didn't realize, I'm looking him up on Wikipedia, born in Newark, grew up in Nazareth, PA, which is in the Lehigh Valley. So he's back home, which we know how DeAndre Swift played back home, at least when they let him play. I also watched an interview with him. Seems like a humble kid, just ready to come in here and work. And his demeanor, like he obviously wants to show out when we play Washington. So hopefully we get to do that to them. Obviously, it's not the same situation when they signed Deshaun Jackson back in the early 2010s. I mean, we cut him, they signed him. But yeah, if I'm him, I probably feel really disrespected. You traded me to a rival team. So you're playing for your hometown team. You got that. Like, what other motivation do you need? And I also think it's underrated, not being talked about, is if knock on wood, and this desk is wood, if AJ or Devontae, God forbid, even if they just like have a tweak or just during a game, I'm not even going to say anything else, you have a reliable, former first round pick to step in. And I mean, that's value to us. Like you said, Washington's great at drafting wide receivers. It hasn't mattered for 20 years, right? Yep. Seriously, they've always had decent tight ends, wideouts, running backs. They can't get the quarterback position right. So
nope,
love it. All right, we have to. All right, so that was our first position group. We're gonna go through this a little bit faster. Obviously,
wait. So good on Natasha. Calabria asks, "Is that a lightsaber behind you?"
Hi, Aunt Nat. Shout out to you. That is just an LED like standing light that I made green. This camera is so shitty that I'm using today. It probably doesn't look that green. But yeah, I'm experimenting with my background a little bit.
And there you have it.
But shout out to you.
Not a lightsaber.
So no surprise at quarterback. Obviously Jalen Hurts, Tanner McKee, and Kenny Pickett. And Kenny Pickett is going to be the backup. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Anything, nothing of note there. Moving on to running back. Did they sign another running back? They didn't. They're going with 3 running backs. Saquon, of course, Kenneth Gainwell, and Will Shepley. Obviously, Will Shepley is our rookie out of Clemson.
I think it's Shipley.
Shipley. We know I had that. We had that problem.
Yeah.
Obviously, Kenny Gainwell, Mr. Reliable, played well in the playoffs in 22. Again, not my favorite player. I feel like you are a lot higher than him than I am, as far as like you think he could possibly be a starter. But he's great as a number 2. I mean, I obviously want to feed Saquon all year. I know you're so excited to see him in midnight green. Anything on the running back, keeping 3, and what do you expect?
I like the fact that we have Saquon Barkley. I think he's going to be a stud. Yeah, you're high on something if you don't think he's going to be good. And we had Kenny Gainwell, who Nick Sirianni loves, so he's going to play him a lot more than he should be played. I think our running back room is good. I'm not really high on Will Shipley, but they picked him for a reason. So all in all, I'm not as high on the running back room as I am wide receiver, but we have a dynamic playmaker in Saquon Barkley that makes it all worth it. So that's just how I see that.
Absolutely. I mean, it's Saquon or bust, like you said. That's, it's our biggest – it is our biggest move of the offseason. And honestly, I didn't think about this, but it's kind of like replacing Jason Kelce in a way. Do you get what I mean by that?
Wait, what did you say? I was doing something on my YouTube. What did you say again?
Like the signing of Saquon is replacing Jason Kelsey in a way, as far as like the run game goes.
Um, I mean, no, yes and no. I mean, replacing Jason Kelsey, blocking down the field, obviously is going to hurt. But the way I see it, I feel bringing in Saquon Barkley is going to change the whole dynamic on offense overall. It's going to let Jalen Hurts be him again. It's going to scare defenders. They don't know exactly what to do anymore. They don't know who to cover. They don't know who to watch. It's going to be a nightmare if they can put it together, but they do have to put it together, and it's tough when last year we fell off a cliff. The year before that, we were unpredictable. So we'll see how it goes in Brazil. Obviously, I'm not a fan of opening up in Brazil. I say this a million times. But at the same time, I do see it as them putting him as I saw them overpaying for him because maybe they are worried about losing Jason Kelsey, and it would
Well, I
have changed.
think it was like replacing talent with talent.
Yes,
You know what I
I agree.
mean? That's kind of what I meant by that comment. And we all know Jason Kelsey had those amazing badass, down the field blocks. And it's almost like I'm not calling Saquon and Jason Kelsey the same, like on the same athletic level, but we know Saquon can run people over. So I feel like in that way, it's a little bit of a similarity.
Right. I agree.
For sure. All right, moving right along to tight end. So when they officially did the 53 man, they only kept 2 tight ends. Now, I believe they did sign oh no, I think they have I can't pronounce it. That Albert O Jr. on injured reserve.
Oh Lord.
And they also have this rookie McAllen Castles on injured reserve. And then they did bring in a tight end on the practice squad. But I want to make sure that they didn't bring, I thought I saw them sign another tight end. But maybe not. So obviously, we know we have Goddard and Grant Calcaterra. I've actually, for some reason, I've seen I don't even know. Some Eagles diehards are high on Grant Calcaterra. He hasn't shown me anything at all. I think he's had 5 catches max since he's been here.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about him being the backup? Obviously, we've talked about Goddard a decent amount in the past.
I mean, it is what it is. It just goes to show you we're not really relying heavily on the tight end position because Dallas Goedert, me and you both know that he's just there. He's there to block. He's there to do a job as the tight end, but he's not really someone where you're going to expect him to do much. He's just a guy that you check it down to, maybe throw as a wide open 10-yard slant guy and get the first down. But he's not going to be your Zach Ertz. He's not going to be a Brett
But in
Stelly.
22, he was a main target.
I mean, he was a main target because – let's just face it, everyone else was covered. That's why he was a main target. And he actually did pretty well until he broke his hand.
He was good. He was good. I'm still about to check. Did they sign? Yeah, they still only have 2 tight ends, which is kind of surprising. Maybe they'll call up someone from the practice squad. I don't know if I've ever seen that. Just 2 tight ends on the active roster.
Yeah, I mean, Grant Calcaterra is nothing special. So
that's what I'm saying. But if they both get injured, that's kind of
they'll pick someone up on the waiver wire. I'm sure there's someone out there.
Like I said, they have tight ends on the practice squad that they could elevate. All mystery unknowns pretty much. But yeah. Actually, they re-signed Jack Stoll to the practice squad. He was cut from the Giants. He was there in training camp. So that answers our question.
Yep.
He'll definitely be he'll be on the active roster probably sooner rather than later. So that's interesting. Moving on to the O-line. Obviously, this is of note. Jason Kelsey obviously retiring. First time not on an Eagles team in a uniform here since 2011. Cam Jerkins replacing him. I'm very confident. I don't have any real issues with this offensive line. I know you've said before you're concerned about depth, but you could say that about every O-line. I think obviously our previous O-lines, we had a decent amount of depth, and they've only kept 9 O linemen, which I feel like one year I remember them having like 11, which was a lot. The biggest surprise is that the left guard or right guard, what's his name? He really stood out in camp and took over the job. So that was surprising from the Jets, right?
Yeah, Mekhi Becton.
Yeah, Mekhi Becton. What are your thoughts on him? Him just kind of like breaking out and taking the job.
No, I think it's not really a shock to me. The only reason why he couldn't really
from Tyler Steen.
Yeah, I mean, he couldn't really find his form on the Jets because he would always get hurt or he didn't flourish into what he was supposed to be. On the Philadelphia Eagles, we have the best offensive line coach in the game, in my opinion. So it's not a shock that they found his form. Can he stay healthy with us? Time will tell. But at the same time, I think it's a good start for him. I just want to see what he can do with us in this city at the highest of highest levels. So
again, another former first-round pick, Dotson, and now him. And they also signed him on April 29th. So that was well into free agency. So that potentially could be one of those Howie one-year contract wonders, the James Bradberries of the world, LeGarrette Blunts in the past. Like that has potential to pay off because, I mean, he seems serviceable. Again, that first-round pedigree. I mean, what else could you ask for? Of course, Tyler Steen. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I'm not upset about it if he, doesn't work out. Third round pick. It's unfortunate, but you can't hit on all of them.
Right.
Moving right along, we're gonna go to defense now. Defensive line. Probably, I think people have been saying the entire defense is a question mark. I wouldn't agree with that. Also, random note, I feel like there's so many mixed opinions about this team. I would say it's mostly positive and optimistic, but then, of course, I do see the negativity. But there's no way that they don't finish somewhere top of the conference, top 4 team. Just a random thought. Back to
it's always the strong suit of this team, not only just on one side of the ball of this team. But missing Fletcher Cox and having Brandon Graham on his way out, it could pose a problem if the players we picked this year in the draft don't flourish or the players we picked in last year's draft don't flourish. So that could actually be a problem for the first time in a long time for the Philadelphia Eagles. Hopefully they coach them upright and hopefully they're ready to go. But if they get weak down the road in the regular season, again, I wouldn't be shocked because we really didn't address that position like we usually do in years past, which is kind of weird. But again, we'll see what happens. It's a long season.
Yeah, the only things of note, obviously we know all the regular cast of characters are here, Carter, Jordan Davis. They kept Thomas Booker, who is kind of an unknown, and they cut my boy, what the hell is his name? It's the name thing again. Pelotu, right? What the hell was his name?
Pelotu?
What was his name, bro? The defensive tackle that randomly would come in and get a sack.
I think I know who you're talking about. I just can't.
Wait, here's the wave list.
It's going to be something completely different.
No, I swear to God, it's not.
Pelotu. You mean Fletcher Cox?
Oh, I wish Fletcher Cox was still here. Whatever, it will come to me. I don't know why his name's on this list right now. But again, Thomas Booker made the roster. He was a 5th-round pick of the Houston Texans in 2022, and he was a practice squad player last year. And then Milton Williams, he's back. Hopefully he'll probably see more time now. Jordan Davis especially is an unknown. He was a 3rd-round pick in 21, so he's going to be coming into a contract year soon. So let's see. I think he's going to have a decent opportunity to get some snaps.
He could.
Linebackers.
Oh, God. Oh, Lord. Linebackers suck every year.
Nolan Smith.
Yeah, we already have problems at the linebacking position. Devin White's not even going to Brazil. Again, I'll say it once. I'll say it 20 more times. This Brazil game is like absolute travesty. It's
is it only because
waiting to happen? Wait, what?
Would you care as much and say that if it wasn't week 1, like if it was week 5 or 6?
No, because why are they starting us in a country that, number one, doesn't care about American football at
Well, yeah,
all?
you said starting. Like, would you care if it was in week 5 or 6?
No, I wouldn't. I'd prefer it to be somewhere down the road where our team is ready. Our team is prepped, ready to go. Not the first game back without a preseason snap after we just got our asses handed to us in the playoffs. I wouldn't be as worried about it, but we're going to a country that does not care about American football. It's just a money grab, and we're playing a team that was this close away from beating the Super Bowl NFC champions in the 49ers. So I'm a little worried about this game. Yes, I am. And it should be down the road. It shouldn't be the first week.
And we will be talking about that all day, all night on Friday.
Yep.
I'm very high on Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Ben Van Sumeren makes the team. Obviously, he was here last year, started on the practice squad, and he was risen up the ranks. Let's see if he has any type of development. I mean, not asking for much there. Again, Josh Sweat is listed as an outside linebacker. That could come into play. I don't think many people are talking about that kind of position change or him moving around the field. And then you have the rookie Jackson Hunt.
Yep. I'm high on Jackson Hunt, to be honest with you.
So that would be a great surprise if he can come in, and we're just looking for one starter. Of course, Nakobe Dean is here. Now, Devin White was going to start over Nakobe Dean, but now Nakobe Dean is going to start. Do you know?
No, I think Devin White's still going to start when he comes back.
I mean, like for week 1 now.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have to. I mean, Devin White's not playing, so you have to put someone in there to replace him. Nakobe Dean is getting a chance. He's getting a chance to show his true colors. He's getting a chance to show that he can play at this level, and he's going to start for him. And I think he is. I didn't look at the depth chart. I'm a little bit unprepared when it comes to that.
Yeah, we'll have all the facts straight on Friday.
Yeah, I believe he will start for Devin White. Yes, I do.
Now,
and I think this is his one chance to get it done on the national stage, so he's got to do a good job.
Now, how long is the leash for Nakobe Dean? I mean, obviously, we don't wish injury upon anyone, but that's his track record. Again, I think you're going to see some Jeremiah Trotter Jr. in there. Do you see a possibility where potentially Nakobe Dean gets benched for Jeremiah Trotter Jr.? And we don't know about this Devin White really injury. It's an ankle. It sounds like they're just kind of playing it safe. But I mean, if he could play, he would be going for week 1. So I don't know. Maybe they just don't want to agitate it and make it a bigger thing than it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, would you see Jeremiah Trotter possibly taking over for Nakobe Dean if this injury lingers for Devin White?
Do I see it happening? No. Just because I feel like there's a little bit of overhype when it comes to Jeremiah Trotter, especially because it's his son. But if it does happen, that means the kid puts in work and he's ready to go and the coaches love him. Then it is what it is. And the fact that he would see the field this year, in my opinion, is because our linebacking core is that weak. So again, there's situations out there where there's a lot of playing time for players that usually wouldn't see the field because we lack that position. So if these players are going to get in there and they're going to play, they better perform and they better show it, because this is the one team where you could get that playing time. So go out there and prove yourself. Make it happen.
Yeah, it's either it's an unknown or they're just young. And honestly, no one's talking about it because we don't expect much from the linebackers, like you said. But I think Nakobe Dean probably has the most to prove out of anyone on the whole team, you could argue.
Yeah.
Because we haven't seen really anything from him at all. Do you agree?
Right. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about Nakobe Dean. I think he has good talent. He was obviously on the Georgia Bulldogs national championship team. I've said that like 5 times in the offseason. I think he has true talent, true natural talent. But at this level, you have to be a certain size as a linebacker. And I just don't think he can make a full NFL season without getting hurt. And I think that's the major problem with him. So I don't think it'll matter.
Yeah, they're not going to waste any more time. This is it for him. And we wish him the best. We want him to start. But I
Mhm.
mean, we don't have any expectations, basically.
No.
All right, wrapping it up here with the secondary. I love our secondary. I think this is our best secondary since the Super Bowl win. Of course, 22 was great. And I really say that because CJ GJ is back. I'm high on Quinyon Mitchell. I like Eli Ricks and Ringo as backups. Isaiah Rodgers, another surprise. You kind of called that from the beginning. And then I don't want to say old man Slay, but reliable Slay. So, and again, Avante Maddox is here. And then we don't know about Cooper DeJean, and you still have Reed Blankenship. So, like, a lot of notable names here. Like, we know all these people, this whole position group, basically. And then there's Tristan McCullum, who earned that roster spot this offseason. He's 25. He's young as well from Houston. So yeah, I love the secondary.
Okay. We have depth at the secondary where we didn't have depth last year, so let's go.
And obviously, we have one of the best kickers in the league in Jake Elliott. And Brandon Mann is our punter. And he was fine last year.
Correct.
Back again. He was good. So that is your 2024. Okay, and of course James Bradbury, he is on injured reserve. We also have Sidney Brown. So again, even more depth in the secondary that will be coming back some point this season. That is wild. Also, tackle that they signed in the offseason, LaRavon Clark. And they kept Joseph Negate.
Okay.
So, yeah. All right. Just to wrap that up, I guess if I want to give a grade on this roster, obviously the national and consensus is this is one of the most talented rosters in the league. I would really agree. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, O-line, and cornerbacks are the strength of the team. Of course, kicker, if you want to throw that in there. I mean, I'm going to give this roster a solid A.
Okay. I'm going to give it a solid B-. So the reason being is because I think we lack defensive line help. I think we lack middle linebacker help. I think we lack a lot of linebacker in general help. So with that said,
they've always lacked linebacker.
They do, but I can't give it an A, man. I mean, the offense is phenomenal, but the defense is lacking. I feel like we're going to get shredded at times. So I got to give it a B-. But the offense is a solid A+. A+ offense. Defense, I'd give more like a C-. Like,
so you're worried about the defense, like
yes.
I've heard. But again, they kind of listen to my philosophy, whereas we're always good when we have a good secondary. And we've never actually seen when our secondary's better than our D-line. So I'm interested to see what that looks like. And right. I have some optimism. Because again, it's a passing league. You have to be able to cover. I'm so tired of getting burnt. Nightmares of James Bradbury last year. Reed Blankenship wasn't much better. Slay fell off end of the year. So again, that's why I have some optimism with the defense, because if you can cover, you can get coverage sacks as well, which happens a lot in 22.
Did for sure.
So
I agree with you 100%. The defense can surprise, but right now, as I see it on paper, it is a C- defense and an A+ offense. Overall, B-, if my calculations are correct.
No, I'm satisfied for sure. Well done, Howie. Speaking of Howie, we're going to run over this real quick. After the roster cutdown day, Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni met with the media. Now, I do believe Howie always meets after roster cutdown day. But what's interesting is, and again, we're going to be talking about this all year long unless we win every single game, and there's no note on Nick Sirianni, but every press conference I see, first question always goes to Howie Roseman. I mean, it looks like Howie is the head coach here when I, watched a bit of this press conference.
Yeah.
Of course, this is Howie's show. He has final say over the roster, and that's probably the clearest and most definitive this year more than ever. Like, we know it's Howie. I don't know, I guess like just your opinions on that dynamic. And of course, Howie Roseman is loved now by everybody. You know, they want to build a statue. So
Still not.
do you trust, like, how do you feel about Howie really being the face of, the front office and kind of the coaching staff at this point?
Well, I mean, he's still not loved by me. So if he's loved by everyone, that is
What do
false.
you mean? How is he not
That is
loved by you?
absolute false. He's not loved by me. If there could be one guy in the face of history on this planet, maybe even any other planet in the solar system, who fell into a fucking pot of gold on every single pick or trade he's done, it's Howie Roseman. All right. He picked
one Super Bowl.
Whatever. He picked Jalen Hurts in the second round when he was probably a fifth-round pick at the time when we already had a quarterback. It was a bad pick. He picked Jalen Reagor before Justin Jefferson. It was a bad pick, okay? This guy picks these most outlandish picks at the right time, and it turns into success. I'm not giving a guy credit.
You don't think they picked Hurts?
Luck.
You don't think they picked Hurts for a reason because they knew Wentz was
injury
prone, didn't connect with people, just was done?
I think they picked Hurts because they didn't like Carson Wentz, and they saw
exactly. So how is that a mistake or like?
Because you want to know why it's a mistake? Because at the time, and I've been saying it for years. Now Jalen Hurts has proven me wrong. I'll admit it. I've been saying at the time, I've watched Jalen Hurts at Alabama. I watched him at Oklahoma, completely different player. But his time at Alabama, he did not look like an NFL quarterback. So picking him in the second round was a little reach, and he has proved me wrong. So every single pick, every single trade this guy does has some luck to it. He falls into it.
That's every trade and
no,
every
it's not. All right. Sometimes you got to make the smart choices. All right.
Except for like a slam dunk. All right. But the slam dunks, you have to be like a top 10, a terrible team to get, usually get slam dunks. And they were over Wentz. Remember back to 2019, the playoffs, because they drafted Hurts in 2020.
Yeah.
McCown comes in. Wentz gets hurt again, plays 3 snaps. They lose. So Hurts was getting injured every single year after he had that injury in 2017. So yeah, like it had to happen. I understand that you think it was a reach because of Hurts' talent level and track record in college. But I would love to know like the quarterbacks that were taken after him, which I kind of want to look up real quick so we can compare.
All right, so I'm gonna actually look that up for you, but keep going. What you think?
Yeah. So again, I wouldn't say it's luck, and again, you look like a genius. You have to take a calculated risk. I mean, there's no way they didn't study Hurts inside and out to take him in the second round. And again, it's kind of biased, but they're always going to evaluate quarterbacks the most because they're the most important position. And there's so much to evaluate them on. Because being a leader matters, communication, getting along, your IQ, the playbook, your throw motion. There's just so many things that we don't hear about the other positions. So I think that they do have a good track record drafting quarterbacks. I mean, they've only Nick Foles, Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts. I mean, that's not too shabby. All 3 of those quarterbacks for a certain period of time were the best at their position in the league, which I don't know who else you can say that about besides who were playing, the Green Bay Packers. But like, so we know they could not draft wide receivers for a long time. They could not draft corners. They did switch it with Devontae Smith, which you could say that was a slam dunk. And now this year, they're trying to switch that cornerback curse with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean.
Yeah, so I'm looking back at the rookies. I'm looking back at the rookies from the NFL draft of 2020.
So I want to know quarterbacks.
There really were no quarterbacks in that draft. So, in my opinion, they picked Jalen Hurts at 53 because they didn't see another quarterback they liked. And they're like, all right, let's just go with this guy. And, maybe the fan base will hate us, but whatever. So they just picked him and they groomed him and he worked out. So that's how I see that. But second round for a quarterback of him, it was still a reach in my opinion. But they liked him. They got him. It is what it is.
But you could have said the same thing about the Packers when they took Jordan Love, and that was huge controversy.
They liked him.
Still had Aaron Rodgers.
They
right?
love them because they saw the same exact thing in Aaron Rodgers that they saw in Jordan Love, or the other way around. So they know how to pick their quarterbacks, man. They see what they want, they get what they need, and they like them.
Yeah, I agree, but like no one wanted Aaron Rodgers didn't want it. No one wanted it, but we did the same thing. So like both picks are working out, or I would say they worked out.
Well,
I mean,
here's also another thing. Who says that Aaron Rodgers would be Aaron Rodgers if he didn't get developed by the Green Bay Packers? You know, that's
you know,
one thing
like
that Green Bay's good
he's
at. No, listen,
he's
you're
so
smiling at me
talented.
like I'm being a dumbass, but just hear me out on this. Aaron Rodgers sat behind one of the best quarterbacks of all time in Brett Favre. Brett Favre taught him the game. The same thing that Aaron Rodgers did for Jordan Love. He taught him how to throw the ball. He taught him how to read defenses. And I just feel like these guys are nurtured. They sit behind these quarterbacks for multiple years and they learn the game before going out there. You know, if Zach Wilson was put on Green Bay behind Aaron Rodgers, maybe he's a little bit better. You know, it's about learning the game. It's not about going out there in the fire sometimes. You know, and I feel like they do it the right way. Just my thought.
Oh, I would agree with what you're saying. Now, Brett Favre, I used to be a huge Brett Favre fan, not taking in his personal life, but like, did he teach him to be a pro with all his controversy and you know what he did during his career? Yeah, he I'm sure he took him under his wing as far as being like whatever game planning and fucking just how to be a quarterback in general. But Brett Favre did not have good mechanics, took a lot of risks.
No.
I don't get what.
Not at all. I agree.
Literally throwing the ball fucking across his body.
Yeah. I guess the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, you do that in Madden, like you're getting picked off every time. Like that's the number one thing that they teach that you just never do as a quarterback.
I'll never forget the 4th and 26 game where his throw was so offline that it looked like a punt. It fell right in the middle of the chest of Brian Dawkins, and he ran it back like 40 yards. That was great.
No, it's yes. So that's my only critique. But again, I kind of get what you're saying with Rodgers. It's a perfect system, but I think he would have been great anywhere, especially because his offense, especially in those later years, like did not have many stars or playmakers.
Right.
Super Bowl team, they brought in whoever that running back was. Remember, he was like a bagger in a grocery store, and then he went on to win with them. So kind of tells you all that you need to know. Also, I totally forgot that Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts were in the same draft class.
Burrow got picked early. So did Tua. And
yeah, Burrow was the number one pick.
Yeah, Tua got picked early too.
And they're the only two quarterbacks from that draft class to make the Super Bowl so far. So that's why it's like you can say it was a lucky pick by Howie, but I mean, you're not lucky if you're right. You're just right. I don't know, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a tough business. If you don't succeed, you don't succeed. If you do, you do. And Howie's been very lucky so far. So good on him.
No, I would agree. We do have a couple comments here. I think we might have missed some. Start here. That chick sitting next to me at the game was wearing a LaShawn McCoy jersey.
I think he's talking about the game in Toronto. I think the Phillies are playing the Blue Jays.
Okay. Bro, screw it from Brent. Bring American culture everywhere. Every country loves lame soccer. I know this is random, but thoughts on EDP?
I don't care.
Okay. You lost your response to the other comments because of that comment.
Yeah, no, Brett, you're actually a regular on this channel. That's why you have a moderator sticker right next to you. But I'm not, and Scotty went away for a little bit, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm not talking about that anymore. You know, I don't talk about morally unsound things, and unfortunately, you know, some people just live nasty lives, and I'm not talking about it. So I choose not to, and that's just how I'm going to end it there. Saints fan 141. It has his picks for the pick-em that we're going to do when Scotty comes back. Obviously, his connection went down, and he's going to come back in whenever. But, you know, yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about the game on Friday during the 1 o'clock hour leading into Brazil. I'm actually going to watch that game near LBI. So I'll be down at the Bay, my friend's house, you know, for the last weekend of the year before it gets cold. So that should be fun. But yeah, I'm really excited. You know, I'm not excited for this game in particular, but I'm excited for the season. And honestly, I cannot wait for it to get started. Win or loss on Friday. Prefer a win. If we won, it would be great because I'm not expecting to win. But definitely excited. Yo, what's up, buddy?
Sorry about that, guys. No idea what happened there, but I'm back. Were you reading Saints fans' comment or with his
I
picks?
was. I was reading his pick 'em that we're about to do in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, so we can definitely follow along. Again, we're gonna record these picks, and so that'll be really fun. I am going to document that. Last thing before our picks, how do you feel about those Eagles all black uniforms that were released? I think the funny thing of note is that the NFL used to have a rule, and I think it's still in place, that it took years to pass a different color helmet. And then in 2 weeks, they released this all black helmet. And it's like, why didn't they do this 2 or 3 months ago when the green controversy first came up? And now you're like changing your mind 2 weeks in. Just some like unorganization, and they like it was probably like they didn't want to comply, and they're like, we don't give a fuck. But now they're like, let's just not do anything controversial and play the game. Do you think that's what happened?
Well, what's weird about it is usually the away team doesn't wear green. We're the home team in this game, and Green Bay's wearing green. So none of this really makes any sense to me. And number two, it's not an all black uniform. There's green in the stitching of the numbers, and there's green in the stitching of the letters. So it's not an all black uniform. That's what people are saying. And honestly, the all black helmet, I mean, who cares? Change the rule. If you really want to keep your players safe, whatever. I actually like it. I like the all black helmet. So
Me
I would
too.
keep
Me
it.
too.
It-
Now, of course, the helmet is more, you can see it easier from the stands than the green stitching. So
Yeah.
that I get that. Again, I just thought it was weird that they can like, oh, we're just gonna do it like out of nowhere. Like, they always say like, oh, production and Nike and whoever fucking I don't know who damn makes the helmets. But it's like, no, we just put out all these helmets within a couple weeks. I'm sure they probably had this backup plan for a while. Again, just weirdness. And it also could be like, the Eagles are a very like future politically correct, that wavelength franchise. So I'm sure this was probably definitely a Jeffrey Lurie decision. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I feel like there were a couple Jeffrey Lurie decisions this week. Yeah, one that I'm not going to talk about, but there were a couple.
All right, you're gonna have to type in are you gonna reveal that on Friday, or you just
No, I revealed to you right now in the private chat.
Okay, you just don't want to go there. All righty, so do you want to do our division standing predictions first, or our weekly pick'ems?
No, let's do the division first.
All right, perfect. All right, so of course we are going to document this as well. We kind of have glanced over this randomly throughout the offseason, of course. We're going to save the NFC East for last. Let's start with the AFC since it means the least to us. But I want to start with the AFC West because you have Jim Harbaugh back in the NFL with Justin Herbert, which I feel like the hype has died down a little bit. Like I haven't heard as much, probably because it's just the Chargers, and the Chargers haven't been good in so long. You obviously have the Kansas City Chiefs, the cream of the crop, the unbeatable force, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce. They're the gold standard. You have the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, I don't even know who their starting quarterback is.
Las Vegas Raiders starting quarterback is Gardner Minshew.
That is wild. I mean, not a terrible pick if you're in that position because it's better than starting whatever else. Remember Bill Belichick like Jared Stidham, and I think Josh McDaniels signed him when he was there.
Yeah.
God, the Raiders are a mess. That's so
awful.
Sad. Now,
it's crazy. I'll actually add on to that real quick because I picked Zamir White in fantasy in the 7th round as one of my backup running backs. I'm actually excited about that because I feel like they're going to pound the ball a lot, especially because they're not going to throw it because they stink. But, Yeah, that's the only thing I'm really happy about, and I am happy that Antonio Pierce is the head coach there. I think he has a lot of potential, but they're never going to be good again, and the Raiders just stink.
I do like their head coach, former player. Oh, excuse me. And then, of course, you have the oh no, that's all. Chargers, the Broncos. Now the Broncos kind of another dumpster fire, which is sad. Sean Payton kind of overrated. Let's just be honest now. Still think he's a good football mind. But like this team hasn't been good since they won the Super Bowl, and that was almost 10 years ago. So like what the hell is happening with them? And talk about they're starting Bo Nix, right?
Yeah.
So again, just a complete unknown. So my predictions, I don't know if we want to do records because that's it wouldn't make any sense.
I'll do records.
Well, it's because it's like it would have to make sense for the rest of the conference, and we're not like doing game by game.
True.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say fourth place. I'm gonna have to say Broncos, which I mean, I don't know if Sean Payton's gonna be back again because I think the Raiders will be in third because they're scrappy. They finished the year decent, when Josh McDaniels got fired. So, and again, Gardner Minshew, little underdog that could look at him with the Colts last year.
Oh, God.
Chargers 2. And again, I might regret this. I always overrate the Chargers. It's like I almost like want them to be good because they've always had talent, and maybe it's the fucking uniforms. Who the hell knows? But it's a big year for Justin Herbert. Obviously, Jim Harbaugh is such an intriguing hire. He's very talented. We remember what he did at Stanford and Michigan and San Francisco. It's like wherever he goes, he wins. So I expect that. But he's got to reverse a pretty deep Chargers curse that's been with them their whole franchise history. They haven't won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So we'll see about that. And then, unfortunately, fortunately, whatever, the Chiefs will win the division again. And I just don't see any way they don't. The Chiefs, I don't see them any way they don't win it again.
All right. So I agree with your exact order. But I'm going to say that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win the division by 5 games. Now, here's why. I think the rest of the teams in that division stink out loud. All right. The Chargers have no receiving core whatsoever. Their best wide receiver is Joshua Palmer. All right. They do have Jerry Reese's son who could turn into something, but who knows? I took him in fantasy. So we'll see if something happens there, hopefully. But I think Jim Harbaugh stinks as an NFL coach. I think that Sean Payton is overrated, like you say, and I hate Bo Nix with a passion. And the Las Vegas Raiders are just a travesty. So, yeah, I have the Kansas City Chiefs running away with that division, and it's not going to be close because every other team.
All right, so we are going to document this. Do you want to put this in a notes app, and then I'll do the weekly picks, just as a side note, if you want to put.
Sure.
And, of course, we have the same for that one. Next, probably the most boring division in football continues, and that's the AFC South. I mean, you do have the Houston Texans, obviously, really have come back out of nowhere after that Deshaun Watson fiasco with DeMeco Ryans really turning that organization around. And, of course, how can we forget C.J. Stroud? They have tons of primetime games. I'm just going to say, obviously, they're my number one. And I think, I'm sure the odds are like 90 to 1 that they're going to win the division. Number 2, it's got to be the Jags. You still have Doug Peterson there, who we know is a good coach, legend in Philly. And then Trevor Lawrence, he's a little probably, I wouldn't even say he's overrated, but he's a good quarterback. I mean, he's like middle of the pack. There's no reason they can't win 9 games again and maybe not collapse. The Colts, it's very, Shane Steichen, great offensive mind, but we still have no clue what Anthony Richardson is. And it is a concern for me and the psyche. Look at Carson Wentz. When you get hurt especially your first season, you have like that feeling like, am I going to get hurt again? I'm going to be cautious. That's my concern with Anthony Richardson. Obviously, supposed to be, a huge. We know he's talented, of course. He was a top 5 pick, but
Yeah.
I'll have the Colts at 3rd, and then probably the most boring, irrelevant franchise in football, the Tennessee Titans,
4th.
in 4th. They have a new head coach, and Will Levis is interesting, but like no one cares about the Titans. I'm sorry.
No, I think obviously I agree with the 4th place team. They're the weakest out of all teams. I actually think
Worse than the Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, I think the AFC South has potential to be one of the better divisions this year. Honestly.
Oh, really? Not the worst.
No. I actually think they have potential to be one of the best divisions in the NFL. Honestly, because if you look at all 3 teams, and I'm not counting the Tennessee Titans, even though I do think Will Levis is going to be something good in this league. What I see out of the talent is you have Jonathan Taylor with Anthony Richardson. You have Josh Downs there. You have Michael Pittman. I think that's a solid team. I think either one of those teams can finish first, actually. And I'm actually going to go with a little bit of a hot take. I think that the Houston Texans will finish 3rd. And here's why.
Oh, write that down. Down. We should
here's
do a bet
why.
on that. I'll take a bet with you on that.
There is a ton of star power on that team. They have a second-year quarterback in C.J. Stroud. There's usually a sophomore block after you're good your first season. I do like DeMeco Ryans. Good head coach. Played here as a Philadelphia Eagle. Like him a lot. Love Tank Dell. Like Nico Collins. Don't love Nico Collins. They have good running backs. And Joe Mixon they just got from Cincinnati Bengals. Again, a lot of star power there. But here's the thing. You brought in Stephon Diggs. Now, is Stephon Diggs really that cancer that he was in Buffalo? If that's the case, he's going to want the ball, and he's not going to want it to be spread out to these other playmakers. He's always going to want the ball, which means it could kill a chemistry on that team, and they won't be as good and as fluent as they were last year. So I'm going to say that the Houston Texans finished with an 8-9 record this year.
But going to Stephon Diggs, I think he's going to be a big loss for the Bills. Like, I think him, and of course Josh Allen, he turned that franchise around. He really did. And you don't think he really contributed to a lot?
I think it's more on Josh Allen, to be honest with you. I think what you're going to see is you're going to see Keon Coleman go in there and light it up with Josh Allen. I don't think they're going to miss him one bit. I really don't. Actually, I think it was good for them to get rid of Stephon Diggs. I think he's a cancer.
I don't agree. But, like, obviously Stephon Diggs is their number one weapon on offense. Do you not agree?
Stephon Diggs?
On Houston now.
No.
I don't Buffalo. No. Who's their number one weapon?
Their number one weapon is Tank Dell, in my opinion.
Okay, like a proven number one weapon.
Tank Dell.
I mean, he was a rookie last year. I talk about rookie slump.
You're talking about adding a player onto an offense that didn't need a player on offense. That's the problem.
7 touchdowns. He had a good rookie year. 7 touchdowns, 700 yards.
And he got hurt.
Yeah, he was hurt. And again, that's also a concern. But I know Stephon Diggs also has a little bit.
But you're adding an unnecessary cancer to a team that was actually pretty good.
I would not call him a cancer.
I think he is, man. I think he's a really bad cancer.
It's a little bit of a stretch to me.
All right, we'll see.
What about Derek Barnett making the team on Houston? That's interesting.
Yeah, good for him.
Still in the league. Well. But I mean, okay, yeah, they have Robert Woods, but again, Stephon, okay, you want to take Tank Dell, I don't agree with, but okay, number 2. They have Cam Akers. He's one of the best receivers in the league, and he's paid like it as well. So, just my opinion. All right, moving on to the next division. I think obviously we're down to the top 2.
Wait. Before we move on, I'm going to give you my records for them. Well, not records, but my predictions. So fourth place is Tennessee Titans. 3rd place Houston Texans. 2nd place Indianapolis Colts. 1st place Jacksonville Jaguars.
Why do you have the Jaguars 1?
I like Doug Peterson. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to step up this year, and I think they have a lot of offensive firepower. That'll click. And they did
So
start the season last year 8-3. They fell off a cliff, but they did start well.
so in that case, you probably have Trevor Lawrence like almost top 5 quarterback.
No, I have him like top like 8, maybe top 10.
Close enough. I think that's it's
Yeah.
high for a lot of people, but I respect your opinion there. So yeah, we definitely differed because I had Houston, Jacksonville, Colts, Titans. You got to make sure you're keeping track of this. Let's go next. The AFC North, obviously, if not the best division, one of the best. All 4 of these teams had a winning record last year. That is just insane, especially considering Joe Burrow getting hurt, Joe Flacco starting for the Browns, Pittsburgh having no quarterback. Like that is an accomplishment for all of those teams. So I expect nothing less. I will say this is probably the hardest division to rank because you could probably put, besides the Steelers winning it, you could make an argument for any team in any, finish. Okay, I'm gonna have to have the Steelers 4th just because, their offense is unknown. I think Russell will be fine, but it's just looking like he's gonna be done. His career is wrapping up, unfortunately, because he was amazing for years. Oh, Lord. It's got to be the Browns for me. Of course, Deshaun Watson has a lot to prove.
He's a piece of shit. And the thing is like he's the backup on one of my fantasy teams, but he's just not a good guy, and I don't think good guys ever win. I don't think bad guys ever win, so he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, it was a horrible look for him. It really was. And would you have more respect for him if he, admitted it? Kind of like, not like a Michael Vick thing. I don't want to compare it. It's but like, you know what I mean? Like, to just lie about how many of these women, hundreds.
He had to lie. Like, there was no way he was just going to openly admit to that.
You don't think people would have had more respect? He still had to pay his time. He sat out a whole year.
No, because you're admitting you're a sexual predator. If you at least lie about it, at least there's some cover up on it.
Yeah, but I think that, in my opinion, everyone deserves a second chance. And of course, that's not the public perception. You're kind of that's your reputation forever.
Mm-hmm.
So I get what you're saying, but I don't know. In another world, I guess I would have rather, I don't know, try and fucking start over. But I know it's hard with that shit. It's really almost impossible. So again, moving on. Ravens, I cannot believe Lamar Jackson's already a 2-time MVP. That is insane to me.
Overrated.
He is a very talented player, but it's hard to win the MVP award, but to win it twice, that's nuts. I'm gonna have them too. I have the Bengals coming in hot. I think Joe Burrow again has a lot to prove. He is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And they also just have a very, very talented roster. They're a fun team. They're a fast team. Now, do I think that they're the only still true contender to beat Kansas City because Buffalo has had so many chances and they haven't gotten it done. Mm-hmm. So he's the only quarterback to beat Patrick Mahomes besides Tom Brady in the playoff. Mm-hmm. So I have them at 1.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go right down the list. Obviously, I'm going to go Cleveland Browns 4th. I think they'll have a record of 7-10. And that's based off me being kind of biased because I don't like Deshaun Watson. I think he sucks. Well, I don't think he sucks. I just think he shouldn't be in the league. He got a guaranteed contract, which he didn't deserve. So I'm going to put them as number 4, although I would like to see Nick Chubb have a redemption story. I would like to see that because I feel bad for him.
He's a boss. He's one of the best.
I love Nick Chubb, and he deserves to have a good season. So
love him in fantasy too, right?
Yeah, he's good. Amari Cooper, I like. So they do have weapons. Maybe I'm wrong on that one, but I'm going to say 7-10. Obviously, we're not doing records, but I just put it out there. Number 3, I'm going to have the Pittsburgh Steelers, obviously, because Russell Wilson, don't trust him. I don't think Justin Fields is any good, so it's not like it really matters there. George Pickens is left out to dry, so they're going to be number 3. Number 2, I'm going to have Cincinnati, and number 1, I'm going the Ravens.
So back-to-back division champs, the Ravens.
Yeah, and they just got Derrick Henry, so that's huge for them.
John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin have been there. It will be coming up on 20 years, before we know it. And it's 2 of the best coaching jobs ever. So many players, so many quarterbacks, and they still find a way to win and be a good team every single year.
Right.
I mean, I don't think there's no way you could ever fire either of them.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm then, I probably would want to coach until I'm like 80 years old, 75, whatever, right?
Yeah. I guess we don't know what it feels like till you actually get there, right?
Seriously. And that's a perfect lead-in. Kurt punches Kings. Me, a Jets fan, starting this season with optimism. Hopefully it doesn't go to shit again. We are going to move on to your AFC East because this is a very, very interesting division. Again, 3 good teams, 1 piss-poor team. We're not going to talk about the Patriots.
They suck.
Only note about them is they are still worth the second most on the Forbes valuable list. I believe they're worth like over $7 billion, right behind the Cowboys. I think.
Yeah, they're
now worth $10 billion.
Yeah, the Patrons are worth that based off their past. Well, their recent past.
That's the only thing that they have.
Yeah, they're going to suck this year. I mean, obviously, Drake May can be good, but we don't know. They don't have any talent. I think their best wide receiver is Kendrick Bourne, so they don't have any talent. They're going to suck once again. So
I like their head coach. I mean, I just watched his introductory press
Jared
conference.
Mayo.
He sounds like a good guy. That's just whatever. I'm rooting for him. Good luck to you.
All right, that's fine.
Let's start with your Jets, Kurt. Because the Jets, of course, are another one of those cursed franchises, just like the Chargers. And they're similar to the Chargers, where there is always that optimism and hype. You finally have Aaron Rodgers. You're trying to pull the best you could hope for is a Brett Favre Minnesota Vikings situation, which is a coincidence a little bit. Imagine Rodgers goes to Minnesota next year. Of course not, because they have JJ McCarthy. But yeah, it is the Jets. Also, I think Robert Saleh has been through so much shit, and I just have a picture of his face being miserable, like 24/7 in my mind. I don't know. I want you guys. I love Aaron Rodgers. I think he's one of the best players ever to play football. But I don't see some fairy tale ending for the Jets simply because it is the Jets, and Aaron Rodgers is an unknown right now. He's 40 years old. Only player that's been able to do this is Tom Brady, to play that late in his career at such a high level. The odds are stacked against him and the entire Jets football team right now. Bills and Dolphins. Dolphins are frauds. Like, they just kind of are. I think, talk about overrated. I think Tua is the most overrated quarterback in the league.
You don't like Tua Tagovailoa?
Love Tyreek Hill. I think you guys have a great head coach. He's a very, like, that boy Dexter that just sat in his room all his whole life and just wrote plays and fucking science fucking calculations. So great, good for you guys. They just like shit the bed so many times. They beat the Cowboys, which Christmas Day, that was our last good moment when the Cowboys lost for Eagles fans. But yeah, I don't see it. I really don't. I also love Jalen Waddle with the fucking waddling. And again, they can't play in cold weather. Like, they are not even competitive against the Chiefs at all. And that's the measuring stick. So you're a fraud to me if you can't even lose by 7 points. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I do.
And then for me, it is Buffalo at number 1 because of Josh Allen and because of the recent history and pedigree. Until someone knocks them off. Of course, they had that slow start last year, which they kind of looked dead in the water. Josh Allen brought them back. Again, I think they're going to take a step back with Stephon Diggs. And we're not doing records, but I could see this being a division where it's like Buffalo wins it at like 10-7. I'm picking them that low. And then you have the Jets and Dolphins, maybe another 10-7, and Buffalo wins the tiebreaker, and then a 9-8. But I think it's going to be competitive, and I'm interested in these teams, but I don't think they're at the level of Cincinnati, Baltimore, Houston, Kansas City.
Okay, so obviously the dead giveaway is the New England Patriots at 4th place. Okay, they're gonna be like 3-14. They're gonna maybe not even, they stink. So number 3, I'm gonna go Dolphins just because I think they stink. Mike McDaniels is a fraud. He's more of like a Gucci fashion designer looking person than he is a. And that's odd saying because he looks like a nerd, but he wears designer shit all over the place.
Wouldn't you if you had all that money?
I guess I just don't think he's the right type of person. Not judging or anything. I don't think he's the right type of person to be wearing that stuff. But whatever. I'm not a believer.
What the fuck does that have to do with the damn football team? You sound like
I'm just saying, man. Like I don't believe. Listen, I don't believe.
That's like a Stephen A. Smith take on.
Well, you gotta drop him some knowledge sometimes, but whatever. I don't believe in Tua. They have 5 running backs who they can't decide to give the ball to. They have Jalen Waddle, who's great, but he's hurt. Tyreek Hill's great, but they like force feed him the ball all the time. I think they're a good team, but at the same time, I just don't think they're going to do anything. So give me the Dolphins at 3. I'm going to give respect to Aaron Rodgers and give them number 2 in the division. Don't like the coach at all. I think he's a meathead. I think Breece Hall is one of the best running backs in the league. Their defense is great, but if you don't have a coach, none of that matters. Honestly, what I thought they should have done this year, and I think I'm the only one that thought about this. When Bill Belichick was fired from New England, I thought he should have went to the Jets to start where he wound up with. I thought he should have went to the Jets.
I would have liked that.
Yeah, I thought that would have been fun, but they like.
Do you think Robert Saleh is a dead man, lame duck?
I do. I think he stinks as a head coach. I think he's a good defensive coordinator, but I think he stinks as a head coach. I thought they should have brought in Bill Belichick, but they love Salah. So
well, how do you have Zach Wilson as your backup too? Like that was
stinks. It does. And then number 1.
I mean, they traded him away, but I mean, like last year, like they had opportunity to bring other people in, and they were so stubborn. Like that was on them.
And then number 1, I got the Buffalo Bills. So I got the Bills at 12-5.
You just love Josh Allen. You're obsessed with him. You think he's
Josh Allen's amazing. I mean, Josh Allen's amazing. Listen, I mean, we're in a really competitive fantasy league, and someone picked him in the 1st round this year. You know, I was actually thinking about taking him in the 2nd round because I love him. So I picked Jalen Hurts. They picked him. I'm telling you. They picked him in the 1st round.
Even Patrick Mahomes is too high, and like I loved picking Peyton Manning Peyton Manning obviously was that. All right, you can take him in the 1st round.
I'm not going to lie. Kurt, I feel kind of disrespected. Number 1, you called me buddy. I don't like that, all right?
What if he called you?
We already tried to have Bill as our coach back in the 90s. I understand that, which is why nobody wanted him in the offseason, and you could have got him pretty easily with Aaron Rodgers. So
Wasn't he there for one season?
I think he was there for 1 month. He was there for like a half a day, and then he just resigned.
And Kurt, do you know the full story of? I mean, obviously he went to the Patriots. Maybe it was money related, or would you know exactly why he just left you guys high and dry? I mean, you probably know more than us. But I mean, Belichick will take any job. He's on fucking Pat McAfee giggling it up and Dayton.
I mean, I honestly think he left him high and dry because they're the Jets. I think that's why. But Louis,
did they have like Chad Pennington, or did he get? Didn't they have like a decent quarterback? Like
they had Vinny Testaverde and Chad Pennington.
Yeah.
Luis Calvinisi, I think I said that right. Rooting for Hall this year for sure. I have him too. I picked him 1st in my fantasy league. Hope he balls out. I got to keep him in the 3rd round in my keeper league. I cannot wait for him this year. I think he's going to be great.
So why do you have Buffalo 1?
Because Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen's the best quarterback like right now in the league, to be honest. Well, no, Patrick Mahomes is.
How could you say that over Mahomes?
Mahomes is. I admit, okay. But Josh Allen's phenomenal. I think he's gonna be better without cancer, Stephon Diggs, and I think they're gonna be great. So I have Buffalo Bills winning 12 games, winning that division, getting back to the playoffs.
Again, I do also pick the Bills one, but again, I have them dropping off without Stephon Diggs, and I think that it's just going to be tough. Like a number one wide receiver is how you win. You need to have that weapon. They have Curtis Samuel. I do like their tight end. He came on really
Kincaid.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I don't see it. You're right. It's going to be all on Josh Allen, which is what they needed to not do. So that's just my opinion.
Hey, listen, your apology, Kurt, your apology is way accepted. I just don't like to be called buddy, boss, chief, friend. I don't know. I think it's like really like condescending. So
I was going to say, if he called you chief, you might have had to go black for a second.
No, I might have had to go get some water, honestly.
So yeah, he's sorry. I didn't know as to why he quit immediately. As you said, it's the Jets one look at us and said, hell no. Plus he hates us for embarrassing him in his final. Now we do know Bill Belichick is very stubborn. Number one, clue to that is when he sat. What was the corner's name in the Super Bowl that he sat?
Oh, Malcolm Butler. Wait, what?
Yeah, that was actually the first. That was like the downfall, the beginning of Bill Belichick in New England, in my opinion, to do some crap like that in the Super Bowl. Like it's God. But again, I think Bill Belichick, he didn't get a job, so he's looking for a job. And when you don't have a job, you are more likely to take what you can get.
Literally, and even if that means going to the AFL.
No, he'll just be a guest on Pat McAfee, and maybe imagine him and Tom Brady in the booth together.
Is he still dating that 24-year-old?
Have you seen him on Pat McAfee?
I have not.
He is really entertaining and a joy to listen to. And he actually, the last time he was on, he like shredded the whole league and was like kind of shady and bluntly honest. And he came off really likable. He was so open, more than he's ever been in his entire career, any press conference. And of course, that is being plotted because that's what he's doing. He's trying to fix his reputation. And it just might work. That's going to be interesting off-season conversation because I do think he'll end up somewhere next year. Mm-hmm. All right, moving on to the NFC because we still have a lot to cover. We are hour 17 in. Love it. All right, obviously we're going to do the our division last. Let's just go up and down. NFC West. This is not a strong division as it used to be, even last year. Mm-hmm. I knew you're somewhat high randomly on the Cardinals, obviously because of Marvin Harrison Jr. I am not a Kyler Murray fan again.
Wait, what? I'm not high on the Cardinals.
You told me that you could see them being like not high, but like 8-8 or 8-9 or
that's high. No,
I mean, I still think they're like a 4 or 5 win team.
My buddy kept Kyler Murray in fantasy, and God knows why. I think Kyler Murray.
Oh my God, your whole league is like fucked.
I know, it's so dumb.
Yeah, I've never done a keeper league either, Lewis, before.
Yeah, I think Kyler Murray stinks. And honestly, I think if they had a better quarterback, they'd be better off. But whatever, they do have some weapons there. They have Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison, and James Conner. So maybe I'm forgetting somebody. But
yeah, and the only other thing about the Arizona Cardinals, of course, who their head coach is, are former
Jonathan Gannon.
And it's like, I don't know if he's another example of like better as a coordinator, even though we hated him here, but he had one of the best defensive seasons ever, especially in Eagles history. We can just admit it with all the sacks. Like you just have to. I know some people still won't, which is fine. But I don't know if I could see him. Like, I just think his like aura and like how he presents himself, he's kind of like smug.
Mm.
And that's, I mean, first of all, I don't know if we've ever going to have any Cardinals fans on here, but their owner is an absolute piece of shit
I don't even know who that
human
is.
being. Do you know anything about him, Michael
No.
Badwell?
Nope.
I'll have to tell you some stories because I watched a lot of podcasts about what happened. Again, no one cares about the Cardinals. Sorry, that's why it's not a big story. But yeah, let's just say he's an old fucking miserable, white, disgusting man.
Dirty
So yeah, they're
beast.
never going to be good with him, and it makes sense why they have never been good, like long term. Cardinals fourth. Seahawks again are such a team that who are they now? No Pete Carroll. They're a really complete mystery.
They don't even have a
I still
quarterback.
think that Geno Smith signing was just odd. And like, I think at this point in time in the league, again, we're going to talk about the Giants too. You don't sign a quarterback if you
Yeah, right.
cannot see them winning a Super Bowl. Like, you
Right.
don't sign them to a long-term deal. I think the Geno Smith deal was like 3 years, maybe 4, but still, it's like you're using that money. I'd rather get someone less expensive or just draft anybody because we've seen Brock Purdy in the 7th round. You might get lucky on random quarterbacks.
Mm.
So I think they're just in like a weird limbo state. Obviously, I'm just going to have them third. The Rams, they're obviously they came on strong at the end of the year last year after lost to us. They got blown out by Dallas. They just didn't seem formidable. And they came on strong because there was no one else maybe to do it. Of course, they have Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nakua, who is going to be like an amazing, amazing player, probably one of the best players in the league soon if he's not already. And that's enough to win. But I don't know. Has their time come and gone? Like with Matthew Stafford, will they ever reach? Who knows? They're second for me. And then obviously San Francisco, currently the gold standard in the NFC. However, I do think they are a tad overrated, especially the Packers almost beat them last year. I'll agree with you there. They have a great, talented roster all over the field, especially getting the deal done. Who was it? Brandon Ayuk. I guess the biggest question for them is still Brock Purdy, even though he just went to the Super Bowl, but so did Jalen Hurts, and we're still not sold on him. So will they have a Super Bowl slump, though? I want to get your take on that if you want to answer it now, or I'll let you pick that division.
No, I picked the division right now. So I'm gonna go Seattle number 4. I just hate that team. I think they stink. I hope Tyler Lockett gets a lot of targets this year because he's on my fantasy team in one of my leagues, so that would be great. But Geno Smith stinks, and they have no coach now, so there's that. Number 3, I'm gonna go Arizona Cardinals. Don't like Kyler Murray. I think they're one of the weakest teams in the division for sure. But I do like Jonathan Gannon. I'm one of the few that actually likes Jonathan Gannon, so he'll actually give them 6 to 7 wins, in my opinion. So that's respectful there. Number 2, I'm going to go the Rams. I think the Rams, I agree with you, Scott. I think they kind of ran their course just because Matt Stafford's getting older. They do have a lot of talent in Puka Nakua and Cooper Kupp. I think Kupp's still a stud. They have a lot of decent running backs in that room, Kyron Williams, and they just have Blake Corum from, I think, Michigan. I could have got that wrong. And they have a couple of good tight ends, so I'm not going to count them out yet, plus a talented head coach in Sean McVay. So I'll put them number 2, and I'm going to call you crazy for saying that the 49ers are overrated. They're absolutely not overrated. They're going to win that division at 13-4, possibly the number 1 seed in the whole NFL. So they'll be back at that for sure, unless Christian McCaffrey gets hurt, which is likely because he didn't get hurt last year. So yeah, I got San Fran, Rams, Arizona, and in 4th place, Seattle.
Now, the reason I say that they're underrated, and I guess you don't think they're going to have any type of Super Bowl hangover, which there kind of always is. The
They have too
Chiefs
much
are the
talent.
ones that define that, and the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't want to like they've now lost 2 Super Bowls. Kyle Shanahan and Nick Bosa, Debo, and the crew. So it's like you lose 2 to the same team. I don't know. Like, aren't they over? Like, I'm not comparing them to the Bills of the 90s, but we don't look back on that Bills team, even though Jim Kelly and they were amazing. We don't look back on them. And I don't know. Do you understand the comparison I'm trying to make there a little bit?
No, I think that the 49ers have way too much talent to be in a slump. I just do. They have too much talent, and they know what to do with that talent.
Okay, but if they never beat the Chiefs or they don't win a Super Bowl with
Yeah,
this
but
crop,
it's like, listen, I mean, we
they'll
never.
be the Eagles of
Yeah, they'll be exactly like the Eagles. I mean, the Chiefs are a dynasty. There's nothing you can do about it. And Shanahan chokes in big moments. It doesn't mean they're
but
overrated.
we had a better chance to beat them in our Super Bowl than they did last year.
Disagree. I disagree because
Really?
they were in overtime. We didn't even get to overtime.
But for most of that game, yeah, it was Chiefs.
No, I actually thought, like, I know Eagles Nation's going to hate me for this, but I thought that the 49ers had one of the better overall teams of the last decade last year, and they just lost
No, I
in a 4-foot
agree.
game.
I agree, but they didn't get the job done.
No, they didn't. You're right.
So I'm saying if they don't ever get it done. Now, I like them if somehow the Ravens, Bengals, I mean, I'm not going to say Houston, but I think they can beat any of those teams hands down. They will be the favorite, especially the Bengals because they beat them years ago in the Super Bowls. So yeah, I don't know if they match up well against the Chiefs, and you think that they would, especially that defense.
Mhm.
And you also think the 49ers offense would be better than the Chiefs defense, but the Chiefs defense just comes out of nowhere and plays great at the most opportune and most needed time.
Yo, Scott, I'll be right back. I'm gonna get some water. Which division do you want to do next?
The next division that we are doing is going to be. You can head over. I'll start. We're gonna do the NFC South.
All right, I'll be right back, guys. Give me like 45 seconds.
So starting with the NFC South, obviously one of probably again up there for one of the weakest divisions in the league, no doubt. It's obviously the Panthers. The Panthers are the trash can, the doormat, the nothingness of the entire league. And again, they're kind of just like the Broncos. They have not reached anywhere near their Super Bowl team in 2015 since that season. Firing head coaches, constant turnover. One of the worst trades now in NFL history, trading Christian McCaffrey away, their only superstar player. Of course, he was hurt there, but they just totally fucked that up. Again, a new head coach, Dave Caniels, however you say his name, total unknown. Bryce Young really, took a lot of heat last year. Was not, just didn't prove anything. Andy Dalton is their backup, so there's probably a good chance that he'll be starting. Wait, please don't tell me. Oh my God, Jordan Matthews is a starting wide receiver. I'm sorry, starting tight end for the Panthers. That is sad. Or he made the team. That is weird. He's still in the league. He's 32 years old. That's crazy as hell. That tells you the state that the Panthers are in. And Kyle, you missed my point. The Panthers trading Christian McCaffrey has become one of the worst NFL trades in NFL history for them. What a fuck up by them.
So here's the thing, okay? So I'm gonna disagree with that and just hear me out.
Oh my God.
All right, I know you're gonna laugh. All right. Oh, by the way, before I get to that point, what if like one of my Halloween episodes or one of our Halloween episodes, I turn off the light and I walk away and I just pop out with a mask on?
Michael Myers. Freddy Krueger.
Yeah. But no, getting
You
to the
could also just wear a Cowboys jersey and freak people out, right?
true.
Or Giants.
I'm
Giants
not-
would be you.
I'd rather like kill me. No, I'm not that, but yeah, I know. I mean, if you kept Christian McCaffrey, you're gonna keep him on a really mediocre team to suck ass team. So you did him a favor by getting rid of him. And at the same time, they got back value for that. I don't think it's one of the worst trades ever. Obviously you're giving up a player that's one of the best all time. But I just don't see how it's one of the worst trades ever because you're going to hold a guy ransom. You're going to hold a guy hostage because they weren't going anywhere with him. So, I mean,
Well,
it
he
didn't really
literally
matter.
was offensive player of the year. Like that's who you traded away. They thought he was
He's an offensive player of the year on a loaded team. With Carolina, he was good. He wasn't this good.
He was still a young player though, and he was hurt. I think that they just thought he was injury prone and he was gonna like fade out. But again, that's a misfire to me. Obviously, Dave Gettleman's been gone. I'm sure their GM got fired again last year. They have a new head coach, so that was just a terrible decision. And like I was telling the audience, the Panthers are the same thing as the Broncos since that 2015 Super Bowl. They've just been a shell of a franchise.
Right.
So obviously I have the Panthers at 4th. Again, I was saying the NFC South is one of the worst divisions.
Horrible.
So it's like pick your poison here. I was high on the Saints last year, and they finished okay, but it's like you kind of have to put them at 3 because they are living in the past. And they have a combination of Derek Carr and Dennis Allen, head coach, quarterback. Like you have to like think to yourself today, and that's kind of what I do. Is that going to be a Super Bowl contending tandem? Like hell no. So it's like, what are you doing if you don't even have a chance? So again, Saints at 3, and it's a shame because they wasted a lot of years where they could have won the Super Bowl. With Drew Brees, they still had Sean Payton at the time, Mike Thomas, the running back who's like not the same as he was anymore. Who is it? Kyle, help me out here.
Wait, which running back? What team?
Alvin Kamara. He was
he's so good, man. What are you talking about?
I don't know. He's not as. I mean, it's running backs. They get wear and tear on the miles. He was hurt. They have Chris Olave. They have
from Ohio State.
They have the corner that I wanted, Marshawn Lattimore, a few years back.
He's the one that effectively entered our season in 2018.
So this team still has talent, but again, Derek Carr, and they're still hanging on to Taysom Hill. Like you got to get rid of that. You got to just get a quarterback in there because this team has
Swiss Army knife. You'd get rid of the Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, like what has he gotten you? He talk about like just he probably like loves himself so much for the shit. He's 34 years old. Like it's just I don't know. It's like he's almost like he's like how they used to use Darren Sproles and Jimmy Graham. They always have like some like trickster or like random specialty player. I think you would call that like a flex player in fantasy, basically. So Saints at 3. And then Falcons Bucks is just such a toss-up. It really is. And I'm going to go Bucks 2, Falcons 1, just because the Falcons have a lot of talent. And I do like Raheem Morris. I think I'm glad that he got a second chance after years ago he was in Tampa Bay. Like you probably even forget when he was a head coach. It was so long ago. Like they just have so many young players that are ready to break the hell out. Kyle Pitts, obviously, we both love BJ Robinson. The quarterback thing, they brought in Kirk Cousins, and of course they made that wild ass pick. So, and again, do you trust Baker Mayfield?
No,
I don't. So yeah, I have Panthers, Saints, Bucks, Falcons.
Okay, so I agree with that order, like in the same exact order. Carolina stinks. The Saints with Derek Carr, you're never going to amount to anything because you have Derek Carr because he's not that good. He's not a good quarterback, and Dennis Allen is one of the worst coaches in NFL history. So you're never going to do shit with that tandem.
He's been okay this far.
He has not been okay.
They
The only
finished
reason why
they finished 9-8 again.
Yeah, the only reason why they finished 9-8 is because they have talent on that team. They have
and
Alvin
their
Kamara,
division and their division
and their
sucks.
division, exactly. Tampa Bay, I have second, obviously, because I don't trust Baker Mayfield. They have a lot of talent on that team. I like their running back. I like Godwin and I like Evans for sure, and Otten, good tight end. But I don't trust them to win the division this year. I like Kirk Cousins and that dynamic with Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, and obviously, I like the fact that they're giving Raheem Morris a second chance. So I'm going to give the Falcons division this year in the NFC South.
I agree. Of course, Kirk Cousins is still the biggest story there.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't see him getting past the divisional round. It's just, the Monday night, the prime time record is what it is. Like, you can't deny it. And we've also seen really bad Kirk Cousins not in prime time too.
Yeah.
We've obviously seen him put up great numbers, but it is what it is. They have a ceiling. Like, I just don't see them beating the Eagles, 49ers, Packers. Like, I can't see it. So they'll win their division, maybe win a game, but I would think they're a first round exit, to be honest.
Yeah, Luis, I'm high on Drake London this year as well. He was good with the abysmal quarterbacks they had. So having Kirk there and be the number one target possibly, I think he's going to have a dynamic year this year for sure.
Yeah, I mean they have their key offensive pieces at every skill position for sure. So excited for them. Again, they're another team that's kind of been in limbo and like dumpster, not relevant.
Mm.
So good for the Falcons fans. Moving on to our last NFC division besides the East. The NFC.
Oh, one more thing, Scotty. So for the people watching this stream, thank you so much for tuning in. We are at an hour and a half right now, and it's going to be a long show. Just hang in there tight. We're going to be picking our games as well. It's our longest show of the year. Just do us a favor if you can. Share this around. Hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube and everything you possibly can. We love you guys, and we love you guys for watching.
Absolutely, much.
And we're gonna have two more shows this week. On Friday at 1:00, we're gonna have the pregame for the game in Brazil that I hate, and we're gonna have post-game reactions to that game that I hate. So that's gonna be
that'll probably be the best show of the week. The post-game.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
and that's what we've been waiting for all off season. Like we said, we're making up for missed time last week, and it's officially week 1. So
yep.
It's go time, giving you the most content as possible.
So sorry for cutting you off, Scotty, but what were we gonna do?
Oh, the North.
Okay.
Again, we can kind of run through this a little bit quickly. I also forgot about the Detroit Lions when I was kind of saying the best team.
Forget about the Detroit Lions.
Will they fall back? I'm interested to see what you have to say about that. Minnesota or Chicago 4th. That is really a toss-up. I know people are so freaking high on the first overall pick in the draft, as they should be. But again, the Bears' history with quarterbacks, he is going to have to go into somewhere and completely rewrite history, like I've said a couple times on this show. Can Caleb Williams do it? Yes, but I don't like their head coach. Matt Eberflus, get the fuck out of here. But all that being said, I do think the Vikings will finish in last because of the J.J. McCarthy injury. I do like Kevin O'Connell as a head coach, but the Vikings have definitely taken a step back in overall talent, I would say. Mm-hmm. Bears at 3. I think they can win 6-7 games, and that would be good for the Bears. Detroit, Green Bay, and I'm sure it's a very trendy pick right now. if you're betting on division finishes to pick the Packers over the Lions. And I will. Ooh, this is very, very tough. This is so tough. This might be the toughest decision to make. Do you agree?
Yeah, possibly. Let's see what you got to say.
So we already picked the Falcons to win that division. I am going to keep Green Bay at number 2, and I'm going to give it to the Lions. I think the Lions are going to take a little bit of a step back. But again, they have so many young, promising players all over this team. Jared Goff, very underrated quarterback. Amon-Ra St. Brown, a top 10 wide receiver. Sam Laporta. How could you forget their stud defensive end, Aiden Hutchinson? I mean, and then again, Dan Campbell's one of those players, coaches that you just want to run through a wall for. Green Bay, you're super, super high on them. I love Matt LaFleur. I think Jordan Love has been great. I don't know if he's a little bit overrated or like being a little bit too hyped up for me. Also, the Lions have Malcolm Rodriguez too. So yeah, I just think that the Packers will have a good to great year, but people are expecting them to be good now. Last year, they were not good in the beginning of the year, and people are ready for the Packers now. I think the Lions have more talent.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I don't want to pick too many teams to not win the division like back-to-back years. And of course, as a little spoiler for the East, but I have the Falcons taking their division. So I'm going to say the Lions repeat as NFC North champs, which they never have. But it's a bold prediction, if you want to call it that.
Yep. Okay, so for the NFC North, I got to run down the list real quick. All right, just because they don't have a quarterback right now, I'm going to put the Minnesota Vikings number 4th. Number 3, I'm going to go the Chicago Bears. I think they're going to be an up-and-coming team for years to come. But Caleb Williams being a rookie, trying to mesh with Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and all those sweet weapons that they finally have, they could possibly win 8 games this year, but I'm going to have them 3rd still because I think that division is one of the toughest divisions in the league. So they're going to be number 3. Number 2, I'm going to have the Detroit Lions. I think when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, Jordan Love's better than Jared Goff, and I think Matt LaFleur is better than Campbell. So when it comes down to that, I think those two, it could be 1A, 1B, but I'm going to give it to Green Bay this year, just how they finished last year. I think they're an up-and-coming team. Actually, I think they're past an up-and-coming team. They almost beat San Fran. They should have beat San Fran on the road. And Detroit collapsed to San Fran on the road. So when it comes down to it, I'm giving the Green Bay Packers first place. I know you probably think I'm nuts, but that's just how I see it.
No, like I said, I think that's the toughest pick to make, 1st and 2nd, between the Packers and Lions.
Mm-hmm.
But the Lions did come back in that NFC Championship game. So they kind of proved something to me there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think they're going to take a little bit of a step back, but they have too much talent to not win the division, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree.
All right. And of course, we've been over our division plenty and we picked it before, so we can just run it down. I have, Giants 4th,
obviously.
Commanders 3rd, Cowboys 2nd, Eagles 1st. We take back 1st place. We should have won it last year if we could have beat the shitty Cardinals and Giants. But yeah, that's all we're going to say because we do have to get to our picks. And I also want to bring up something that Nick Wright from FS1 said. So you want to throw your picks out there for the East?
Yeah. So for the East, obviously I got the Giants. I was actually thinking about putting them 3rd just to have some laughs, but nah, you got to put them 4th. The Giants are absolutely terrible, and they're going to be terrible again this year. Probably 3 wins, maybe. Then you have the Commanders, who I think are going to be better than a lot of people think they're going to be. I have them winning 7 games this year. Then I have the Cowboys. And I'm only going records for the NFC East because they're my division. So I'm going to go the Cowboys winning 11 games. I have the Eagles winning 12 games, so 12-5. And yep, that sums up the East.
Absolutely. So that will wrap up our 2024 standing predictions. Last thing about standings is, I believe it was last week or 2 weeks ago when I added this. These are Nick Wright's from First Thing First. NFC's predictions. He has the Eagles third. Giants.
Oh my God, dude.
Commanders.
All right. Please, I'm going to shut this down real quick about this whole bullshit Nick Wright thing. Nick Wright looks like a crackhead who should be a crackhead. All right.
And Jesus, right? Dino Jesus.
Honestly, like his hot takes, I don't even think they're hot takes. I think it's generally how he feels. And to me, that's a problem. And I don't think he belongs on TV. He looks like the Wicked Witch of the West and the Wizard of Oz when she melted. And I honestly think that he should stop talking about sports because he's just embarrassing himself. I remember when we went to it was the year we went to the Super Bowl, and Shannon Sharp was on the show, so it had to be in 2018. He picked the Giants to win the Super Bowl. That's the year we won the Super Bowl. So he does not belong on TV. He's been there for much too long. I don't care how many people watch him because they hate him. He does not deserve a spot on TV, a dream job that some people would die to get. I despise this guy. I hate this guy, and I don't know why he's on TV. But I'm just going to clear that up because every single time Scotty brings him up, I just think, why? Because I don't want to give this guy any notoriety at all. I think he's a loser, and fuck him. That's what I think.
I don't have as harsh feelings about him as you, but yeah, I mean, he's kind of like a troll. But to have the Eagles at third, I thought that was
he's a bad troll. He's not even a good troll. A good troll would actually spit facts. He's speaking opinions that are horrible.
He's just worried about the collapse hanging over and continuing, which is fine. But like to not have them second is just it's almost like complete hate. And again, just doing it for controversy because no one has the Eagles at third in the entire world. Besides, even Commanders fans. The Commanders fans are not putting them second in the division.
So the thing, they just get down here. But to say they're going with third because you believe in third based off how the talent have, it's an embarrassment to be honest. We have injuries, but in the future.
Obviously, Kyle's having some Wi-Fi issues there. Definitely want to hear what he was saying about somehow Washington being second. So we're going to try and get Kyle back on. Messaging him now. We are going to move on to our weekly pick'ems. Kyle, do we have you? All right, Kyle's going to come right back in. Probably going to go on his phone real quick. Lewis, we're going to go to your comment. I think it's a pretty tough too. I'm going to pick Detroit still until the Packers show us what they did at the end of last year. That is what I agree with. And I think Kyle is, of course, over the moon. And I think it's because he had Jordan Love in fantasy last year. I don't know. He just gets fixated on whatever about the team to say they're the best thing since sliced bread. And, a little preview for our show on Friday. I think the Eagles they're going to play a great game against the Packers. So I agree. I'm not ready to crown the Packers one of the best teams in the league post Aaron Rodgers until, we see a full season of success. Looking back, you obviously had a lot of comments. Lewis, embarrassment for the injury. That's funny as hell. Thank you, man. I appreciate you being a fan of the pod. Kyle, you got a little bit of echo.
I know. I'm trying to mute it. Hold on 1 second. I'm trying to get me out of this one. All right, is it better?
It's better. So we did not hear when you said how you like the Washington fans. Pretty much. Is anyone picking them at all? We didn't hear that, what you said before you crapped out.
Is it echoing? I'm trying to figure this out.
Yeah, it is echoing still.
All right.
Yeah, you're probably gonna have to mute your computer or like exit out on your computer.
All right, we good?
I think so. Yeah, we're good.
Cool. All right. So, what was the question?
We didn't hear your response to like I said, even the Washington fans would not put them second in the division.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the Washington fans, we went to go see a game there, obviously, and I thought it was actually a really good experience, other than the dickhead fans that wanted to fight you. I thought that was pretty, like, asinine, but whatever. But at the end of the day, they're a football fan base that knows what they want, and they believe that obviously they don't have Dan Schneider anymore, and they're not going to put them second because they know they're not there yet. But I like going back on Nick Wright. I just think he's an embarrassment, and I think he should be
I
shamed.
would be interested to see what the Washington fans think of the Dotson trade. I don't think
Yeah.
they're happy. How could you be? You're losing a player right before the season that could help you win for a trade.
I can see why they'd be happy with that. To be honest with you, no, listen. I know you always do that, and you're trying to like find some way for me to agree with it. But here's the thing: I'm gonna put this on Do Not Disturb on my phone so no one calls me.
You do have like good rebuttals, but I feel like you always disagree with like the obvious.
No. It's not. It's not that I'm being a rebel. You got to hear me out here. So yeah, losing to Jahan Watson to a rival stinks. But here's the thing: you're getting back capital to build on your team for the future. Was Jahan Dotson good enough to bring you along a ride to the Super Bowl? I don't know. So them trading him away and getting more capital for the future for your young quarterback, I kind of like it for them. I'm not gonna
Okay.
lie.
You do make a good point there, but again, he's a good player, and you don't, the Eagles never trade away good players that young. They trade away Hassan Reddick. Look at that fiasco.
Yeah.
We don't usually trade away young players, so that's my only thing there. But we do have to get on to our picks, which I'm super, super excited about to track this all year long. Doing every game besides Eagles Packers. We'll save that for Friday. Score predictions, full rundown, of course. Starting off the NFL kickoff game every year Thursday night on NBC. It's a great one, and it was Lions Chiefs last year, which turned out to be a great game, and the Lions won. And I am picking the same result. I really like the Ravens to upset the Chiefs at home. Now, the Ravens did not play a good game last year. It was terrible. That was like such a bad AFC title game. But I think the Ravens have that motivation. It's the measuring stick, the gold standard. And the Chiefs could be smelling themselves. I'm sure Taylor Swift will be around. And they have really become such a Hollywood team, probably more than the Patriots, on it because of the Taylor Swift thing and also Patrick Mahomes. And he gets to express himself more than Tom Brady did with Belichick. So I think they could just be a little like I said, smelling themselves. I'm taking the Ravens over the Chiefs.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have the Ravens over the Chiefs as well. It's not because of what you just said. I just feel like the Ravens are a very good regular season team, but when it comes down to crunch time, I think they're one of the worst teams in football. So I have the Ravens winning just because they have revenge on their mind. And like you said, the Chiefs, they don't really care about the regular season. They could go into the wild card and just make a run to the Super Bowl. They don't give a shit.
10
Same
and 7, and they'll win the whole thing,
They
right?
could be 9-8 and they could win the whole thing. Who are we
They
kidding?
literally did that last year. They were
Yeah.
11 and 6, I think.
Yeah.
Obviously the Friday night game, Eagles Packs, will pick that Friday. Moving on to the 1 o'clock games, Steelers at Falcons. This is like a fine game, nice little 1 o'clock game. It's at Atlanta. It's going to be a Kirk Cousins debut with all that firepower on offense. Raheem Morris is back. I think it's definitely going to be a competitive game. I could see it being a field goal, but I'm going to give it to Atlanta because they're at home. They start the season 1-0.
So Atlanta versus Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so Atlanta versus Pittsburgh. I am gonna go. Who you say was home?
Atlanta.
Okay, so I'm gonna go check my little sheet right quick. So Atlanta versus. I'm gonna cheat a
Yeah,
little
get the
bit.
games pulled up, bro. Come on.
All right, I'm sorry. I was doing something. My bad.
Your Wi-Fi was shutting down.
No, it was my Wi-Fi.
No, I'm kidding. Like before.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to my little book here.
It's funny. We've disagreed the whole show almost, but I think we're going to agree on our first 3 picks.
All right, I'm going to scores and nods. Fuck it. Sorry guys, I'm looking up.
What are you looking up? The whole stat line? The whole.
The whole little spiel about what's
Are you
happening.
looking up the betting lines or what are you doing?
No, I'm just going to the games. Okay, so the Falcons are at home. I'm gonna do something that Scott's not gonna do. Because he doesn't do it. I'm gonna go with the betting lines. So
Well, if
Falcon.
you give it to me, I can add it on.
Well, I'm not going with the betting lines. I'm going based off of who I think's going to win the game. Like I'm not even gonna put the spread into fact. So the Falcons are a 3-point favorite at home against the Steelers. I'm gonna say this right here, right now. I think the Falcons are gonna win that division, but to me, this game's a toss-up. I think the Steelers have a lot to prove this year. Russell Wilson wants to come out swinging.
And the Falcons don't.
It's in a listen. It's in a dome. Russell Wilson's good on turf. He's good in perfect weather. I feel like this is a game where coming out of the gate, Russell Wilson wins and the Steelers win this game.
Oh well. Okay, so that is our didn't take long for us to
Disagree.
pick a different. So again, I have Atlanta, you have Pittsburgh.
Mhm.
Hopefully we can both agree and move on. Cardinals at Bills. Bills.
All right, so I have to say I have to add this. The Cardinals are a 7-point dog. It's a little bit of an upset line, but no, I have the Bills. I have the Bills winning this game just because the Cardinals. I going into Buffalo, first game of the year, opening day. The fans are going to be crazy. Josh Allen's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. They're going to want to have something to prove after last year, obviously, and the only way the Cardinals win this game is if they just come at them at every angle and just destroy them, and I just don't see that
Yeah,
happening.
that's
So yeah,
never happening. And they're traveling East Coast, start the season 1 o'clock. No way in hell.
yeah, I'm
All right.
picking the Bills.
You actually give me the line and then I will just throw it out there before we start because I'm interested to see the line for this. It's Titans at Bears. What's the line?
Titans at Bears -4.5. Bears at home.
I think this is the upset special.
Okay.
I'm picking Tennessee because it's Caleb Williams' first NFL start. Will Levis has experience. Titans don't have to travel far to Chicago. It's not cold in Chicago yet.
Mhm.
I see the Titans winning by a field goal here. I think this might be one of the only Titans wins, but it's a gut feeling. Week 1's usually the hardest to pick, but I have a pretty decent track record in week 1, so I'm gonna say Tennessee here.
That's a good pick. I was thinking about it, but not so fast. I have the Chicago Bears at home. I think that this is a game where being at home it reigns supreme. The fans are going to be riling up, especially because they have hope for the first time in years. Caleb Williams is a dynamic quarterback in college. I feel like he could be one of the better quarterbacks for years to come in this league. They have weapons. They're bringing over a veteran, Keenan Allen, to help out. I just feel like this is a game where they win at home, and it's going to be a happy day in Chicago.
Moving on, don't got to say much. Patriots, Bengals at home. Bengals, I'm going to guess that line is probably like, I don't want to say 14. I'm going to say like 12, at least 12.5.
So the line is -8.5. Bengals at home.
Why?
Yeah, I mean it's a weird line. I agree with you 100%. But maybe they view it as week 1 and teams are going to be up to play no matter what. So especially because they're not technically out of playoff contention race, even though we both know they are.
If it was at New England, I could see that.
Yeah, I could see that too. But yeah, 8.5 Bengals. It's a tricky line, but not really for me. I feel like this should be somewhere in the 14s because the Patriots have no talent. So I have the Bengals winning this game outright as well.
Like I said, I think 12, but like, yeah, I could see it. Moving on, Texans at Colts. I'm sure this is like a 3-point line. Honestly, yeah, probably a 3 with the Texans favored, maybe 2 because the Colts are at home. I obviously am picking Houston to win the division. I think they steal this divisional game week 1, even though it's in Indy. I do think the Texans are very talented, so I'm taking Houston.
All right, Houston is a -3 favorite on the road. So you had that line nailed to a cross, obviously. Um, I got to pick. I'm going upset. I'm picking the Colts. I think the Colts are going to get them this week. I really do. I think the
Because
Colts,
they're at home.
because they're at home and the way that their season ended last year, I feel like they're going to have something to prove. I know that I use that line a lot, but I don't know. I like the Colts in this game, so give me the Colts outright in that one.
I think a little bit of a rust for Anthony Richardson, and yeah. All right, probably the best 1 o'clock game. Jags at Dolphins, Battle of Florida. It's gonna be hot as hell. Probably watch it rain. And this game's in Miami. This is definitely the game to watch. 100%. I hope I can get. I don't know if we'll get this game on CBS. Maybe. Hopefully we do. Ooh, this is tough, but I am going to pick. I think I picked a couple road teams. We know usually home wins against road, the majority. So I'm taking Miami. I think they're more talented than the Jags. They're at home. And yeah, Dolphins for me. The line is probably like 3 again. Maybe, yeah, I'm gonna say 3. Might be 5 Dolphins, but maybe 3 Dolphins.
It's -3 Dolphins at home, and there's a good reason for that because the Jaguars are going to win this game outright. Here's why.
Oh my god.
So you have to understand something, and I'm actually here to make you guys money. I want you guys to bet on these games and win, honestly. The Jaguars are going to win this game outright. Nobody in Miami gives a fuck about sports. Let's be real here. Like, I mean, there's so many.
They just think that they're gonna win, but they're not educated.
There's so no,
They're
there's so
front
many
runners.
things. There's so many things to do in Miami. I've been there a couple times. You've been there. There's just so many things to do there. Like sports are like second tier there,
Especially
and
because it's like still summer, basically.
yeah,
Right?
and no one has clear advantage here. I'm not saying that the Jaguars fans travel either because they don't, but it's pretty much a neutral site, and I think the Jags are going to come out swinging. I think they have the better coach that already won a
By
Super Bowl,
far. By
and
far for you.
yeah, exactly by far. So it's like I think the
For
Jaguars are
you.
going to win.
For you. I mean, I love WP, but moving on, Panthers Saints. Such a boring game. They were not show this anywhere besides Carolina and New Orleans. New Orleans is at home. Panthers stink. Give me the Saints. Probably another 3-point spread for the Saints.
-4 Saints at home. I'm taking the Saints. Yeah, I'm not doing any like razzle dazzle here for that one. That's not happening. And if the Panthers win that game, whatever. I don't care. So yeah, honestly, if you want to make money, just stay away from it. But I'm gonna take the Saints.
Vikings at Giants. This is actually somewhat interesting
No, it's
because
not.
I could see the Giants winning just to like give
No.
them some false hope when they
Stop
throw a
it.
parade because it's at New York.
Hmm.
And I actually am going to somehow pick the Giants because they need to win at least one game this year and their schedule is so tough.
Hmm.
I'm picking the Giants and I can't believe I am, but I am.
Yeah, I can't believe you are either. I'm picking the Vikings. The Vikings are a -1 favorite on the road.
Sounds
So
right.
that's pretty much saying that no one believes in Sam Darnold, but why the hell would you believe in Daniel Jones? So I mean, it's one of those things
He has
where
to have one good game. No.
no, he doesn't. And I think the
0-6, 0-17.
and I think I just think the Vikings are better than the Giants, even with Sam Darnold. So, and I think Sam Darnold's better than Daniel Jones. So, I'm gonna take the Vikings on the road.
Not gonna argue with you there, to be honest.
Yes, sir.
Moving on, I just want to try this little test run for the future. Just share my screen real quick. Can you see that?
See
No.
what?
You probably because you're on your phone, but I just shared the screen. People probably can see it. I have the games list on the screen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll see it,
Moving on to the 4:00 games. Raiders at Chargers. Again, this game is always
Shit, you
week
did.
one.
I'm
They
trying
used to put this on when the Monday night game was a
Cool.
doubleheader.
Got it.
Yeah, I could probably zoom into this a little bit too. It's a little just test run for the future
Hey, good shit.
No, what? That's not. All right, there we go. It's just slow to zoom in. I am going to take the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh's re-debut.
Harbaugh's.
What say you?
What say me? Okay, Chargers and Raiders. So the Chargers are -3 at home. That's kind of weird. I'm gonna go upset special here. I'm gonna go Raiders, and it's one of those freaky upset lines of the week. I feel like this is a game where anybody can win. The Chargers are depleted at wide receiver. The Raiders are gonna want to make a statement early that they're not there to be fucked with, even though they are, because they're still not that good. But yeah, I think it's upset special. I have Antonio Pierce bringing his team there and beating them, especially because the Chargers don't have any real fans.
So this is going to be interesting because me and Kyle officially have a ton of different picks now. So, one of us is going to be right and one's going to be wrong, or it could just be a mix. We have half and half right, half and half wrong, which is probably how it's going to happen. And I just typed Oakland instead of Las Vegas. I think I said Oakland Raiders, and it's not Las Vegas Raiders. All right, another game that's just not really interesting. Broncos at Seahawks. These games are at 4:05 for a reason. Do I need to pick a road team? Yeah. I will take the Broncos just because I want to pick a road team and they are in the similar time zone-ish. And yeah, they're the more experienced team. Picking the Broncos.
This line's weird. It's -6 Seattle.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, and it's in Seattle, and I think
That sounds like a trap to me.
and it goes off my point of and your point of Sean Payton being overrated and Bo Nix being a horrible quarterback. Geno Smith has more experience, I guess. He still has Tyler Lockett. He still has DK Metcalf. I'm gonna go spread pick here. Actually, I'm gonna go not only Seattle Seahawks outright. I'm gonna go Seattle Seahawks -6.
We
this game.
disagree again. Is Tyler Lockett still there too?
Yes.
Wow, he's been there for years. Jesus.
Yeah, and he's only 31.
Finally, a good game. I think this is, what they call America's Game of the Week. No shocker who's in it. This is a Browns win. This is the type of game where the Cowboys have a letdown. Now, the only thing is, of course, Deshaun Watson is the opposing quarterback to Dak Prescott, who, at this point, we know Dak's a better quarterback. But the Browns have a better roster overall. I'm so excited for Myles Garrett. He is just an absolute freak. He really is. Like you said, Nick Chubb is back. Can he please stay healthy the whole year? And I believe we both picked the Browns to win this in our predictions before. Have you changed, or are you sticking with Cleveland?
I'm sticking with Cleveland on this one. I think the Cowboys are
What's
great.
the line? Is it Browns 2 or 3?
Browns -2.5. I like the Browns this game just because the Cowboys aren't that great away from home recently. And honestly, this is a Cowboys line just because so many fans love betting the Cowboys, like whether they hate or love them.
Yeah.
And it's one of those games where
Sorry, go ahead.
it's one of those games where the Browns will win because they're home.
Do you remember Thanksgiving a couple years ago? It was Panthers Cowboys when the Cowboys sucked and the Panthers were good, and the line was like Cowboys by 10. Do you remember that?
I remember that.
Or no?
Yep. I remember that.
That's like that's a perfect description of what you just said. Like that was so asinine. The
Mhm.
Panthers, I think that was their Cam Newton like Super Bowl year. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
because um Tony Romo got hurt and whoever they had playing, Brandon Whedon, Matt Castle, I forget. That was a joke. So yeah, that's just Cowboys lines really mean nothing most of the
No,
time.
because it's a love-hate bet in them. Yeah.
So we're both picking the Browns. We're wrapping up here, guys. Commanders at Bucks on Fox. I'm gonna give it to the home team, more experienced team, continuity with Baker Mayfield, Todd Bowles over Dan Quinn. And of course Washington's. I mean, what I mean, we kind of talked about Washington like they're going to be a little bit better than they have in the past, but are they going to have I don't even know, an okay start with a brand new, rookie quarterback and a retread trying to come back head coach?
No, it's gonna be a Buccaneers win. I think, having a rookie quarterback on the road, especially in Tampa
Is
Bay,
Jalen
where
Daniels being overhyped a bit?
no, he's good. I think he's gonna be a good quarterback. But it's his first game. Tampa Bay, it's usually 103 degrees on the field at this time in September. So that's a game where
And
Tampa Bay's gonna win that game.
we'll be in Tampa soon. Also, let's hope Jaden Daniels never gets hurt this year because you know who's their backup, right?
No.
Marcus Mariota.
Oh, wow.
That'll be an 0-16.
Getting our sloppy seconds.
Sunday night game, which I actually forgot this is the NBC first Sunday night game. Rematch of the divisional playoffs. Of course, this was a good game that week. Wait, was this a wild card game or no? This was the
This was a
divisional round.
wild card game. This is a wild card game.
Yes, you're right. The Rams lost, but it was an entertaining game.
Very good game.
I think it's going to be the same result. Give me the Detroit Lions. What's the line? I'm going to say it's 4 Lions.
-3.5. You're pretty much right. Yeah, I like the Lions in this game as well. I feel like it's the same type of game as the wild card weekend game, and I just it's tough. It's a call. To me, it's a coin toss, but I'm gonna give it to the home team on this one.
Now, look at Monday Night Football. This could be the game of the week because there is so much intrigue into both of these teams. Would you say this could be the game of the week besides Eagles Packers? I mean, Chiefs Ravens, but this is really actually more interesting to me.
I think this is the game of the week. If Rodgers can stay upright for a full game, this is the game of the week.
At San Francisco. Ooh. This
-4
line,
San Fran.
yeah, that makes
It opened up -6.5 San Fran and dropped to 4.
look, here's your boy down here. I'm gonna take San Fran. Jets are still a mystery.
Mhm.
I mean, let's hope we see a good game from Rodgers. But yeah, I'm taking San Fran here.
All right, I'm gonna go upset special. I'm taking the Jets. I think Aaron
Wow.
Aaron Rodgers being back in the Bay Area where he grew up and went to school. I think he's gonna love that. It's like home cooking. A lot of his family members are gonna be there, and a lot of people he went to college are gonna be there. So they're gonna want to watch him succeed. It's his first game back. He has vengeance on his mind. He's been thinking about this for a year, and he's playing against a team that I think he rooted for growing up. So I'm gonna take the Jets in this game. They win this game outright.
Nick Bosa cannot wait to sack Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, I can't
Cannot
wait to kill Aaron
wait.
Rodgers.
He
Yeah, but here's
cannot
the thing.
wait.
No. I kind of disagree with that because they both agree
Not
on
saying it'll happen, but he probably can't wait.
but they also agree on politics. So he doesn't really want to kill him. He just wants to like rough touch
Okay,
him.
we're not gonna end the show with that. I mean, I don't know exactly if Aaron Rodgers fully swings that way, if you know what I mean.
Oh, politically.
that could be taken a couple different ways, right?
Oh, politically? Yeah, I mean, he liked RFK. He doesn't like Trump, so there's that.
I think he was more just against the vaccine than anything.
Uh-huh.
But all right, so I'm actually random. I'm doing a survival pool at work. So I want your advice. I didn't send in my pick yet. What is your lock of the week?
My lock of the week? Wow, I haven't done a lock of the week in a long time. My lock of the week is gonna catch you by surprise. And are you ready for the lock of the week?
I am on the edge of my seat.
It is the Cincinnati Bengals at home.
Yeah, I mean, you were being sarcastic, I guess.
Yeah, of course.
I will agree, and I'm gonna go with that pick because yeah, I want to survive week 1. Right?
Not
And week
only
1
that,
is
it's
tough.
not only that, it's a good time to pick the Bengals because like the Bengals aren't a team that I love picking in Survivor anyway. So it's like,
I hate
whatever.
to agree with you just to make like I mean I obviously agree with you, but I wanted to pick a different one just to make it a little bit interesting because I guess we'll keep our locks of the week.
Now, the only time that I would have picked the Bengals this year, other than that, believe it or not, was against the Eagles. That's the,
Mm,
that's the only time. That is my one guaranteed Eagles loss this year.
yeah, and I feel like the Steelers always play them tough, but I'm sure they play it like I'm sure they play a shitty team like the Titans or the Panthers or something. But I get what you mean. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, so that is our week 1 picks. Of course, besides Birds, Packers, it is finally here. The next time you see us on Friday, it's gonna be fucking game day. We've been
Yeah, it's gonna
at
be
this
it's gonna be
since
fireworks.
March. We've been at this since March. It's been a long buildup, and we're ready. Again, we are going to have a full game preview, most likely at 1 o'clock, because we're going to be having long ass shows now. Clearly, I mean, we had a lot to pack into this show, but yeah, probably 1 to 3, and then you can catch us after the game goes off air on Peacock for our post game reactions. And it's gonna be it's a playoff game feel
Mhm.
because you're going against your competition in the conference and it's a standalone game. It's going to be awesome, and we're going to give you our picks then. We are signing out. Kyle, any final words?
Yeah, some final thoughts. 2 hours and 17 minutes, guys, our longest show today thus far. I don't know if we're gonna go longer than that ever, but who knows? Maybe we'll do a watch party with you guys one time, and that'll be the longest show. But I have a lot of fun doing this, obviously, with Sky. And we're just getting started. It's been a long journey since March building this up, like he said. But at the end of the day, the nitty gritty's here, and we are ready to rock and roll now. The reaction video on Friday, and I might be in the dark. I might not be in the dark because I'll be at LBI, but I will have my reaction, win or loss, and it's gonna be a fucking phenomenal day, regardless. It's the last week of summer for me. I know it
Yeah.
ended. I know it ended last week, but I'm going to
One
LBI
final
one more
note.
time. So
One
yeah.
final note. This is probably the most not unpredictable game, but like mystery start to a season in a long time because a whole new coordinators, players, the way last season ended. So it's like it's really intriguing. Like
Mm.
it's like it's a must. Not that every Eagles game isn't a must see, but this is one. It can be one of the best games of the year for 100 reasons.
Oh, for sure. It's gonna be awesome. And we can't wait to see you guys on Friday. And obviously, go Birds. And we're gonna be
Go
here
Birds! Talk to you
every
Friday,
single
guys.
week. We will see you guys later. Bye.